Welcome to a rather unscripted project overview of our Squid Game demake that we made and that we launched yesterday. If you didn't know, the game is actually playable on actual Game Boy. Normally we only do animations, but this one is actually playable on the original Game Boy. You can also play it in your browser. You can download it for free. It comes with a printable box, some printable stickers for cartridges, and an actual manual, as you can see right here. So definitely go check that out. It's full of cheats and tricks and stuff like that. So definitely go check that out. There's a link in the description. I'm just going to take you through the project and talk a little bit about the project and how we made it. And I'll show you around. For example, let's start with GB Studio. It's actually really intuitive software. Even if you're not a coder, you can definitely make something here if you want to. There's some presets that you can start with, like a platformer or top-down, like a Pokemon or Zelda game. So definitely try that. So one of the first things I actually want to show you guys, if I zoom in on this one, so how Game Boy Studio works, it's actually working with like scenes. You can see a lot of scenes here, and actually you can see all the scenes in one overview. That's pretty cool, I think. You can see the credits here, you can see the end scenes here. A little bit of a spoiler on the hard ending mode, but everything has like a cutscene, and then it has like a little title screen, and then it has the mini game, and then like a win state or a lose state, and you get the little piggy bank, and sometimes like the lights out, you can see the whole level in one go. Same for the red light mini game, which is one big level, and you'll start around here and have to make it all the way to the end. But basically, I'm just going to take you through like a couple of scenes and how we did it. For example, I got this title animation in the game. You actually see the screen go up. So I programmed it to go from the red line, from under the red line, to like on top of the red line. So it will move slowly, and it's really intuitive coding where you just like go, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. So it's not super complicated to set this up, but you still like need to make the graphics and stuff like that. And then it goes to this frame where it actually has blinky eyes, if you can see that, and the eyes actually animate. The thing about animated sprites on the Game Boy is that it can only have 3 shades of green. The pixel was turned on, it was turned off, and there's like 2 in betweens. It's not really like even a color. It's just like how turned on a pixel is. And the pixels don't emit light, so you need to like have a lamp on there. But it only had like 3 shades. Even though there are 4 shades, there's 1 shade you cannot use in sprites, and that's that dark green that's in her hair. So that's why here it looks a little bit different from this one, but this one does actually have animation. And you can actually animate it as well. So I got all the animations here on the left side. Maybe it's a little bit too small to read. And right here I got the red light, green light. I got the head animation. So if I zoom in on this, and having an animation for seeking. We did have a different animation for when it was actually seeking like up close. Every time the player was almost being caught, like this would like zoom in, but the sprites were way too big. You can only do 80 pixels in a row, so that's 10 tiles out of 20. That can be side by side, so that was way too hard for this, but that's fine. In the end, we just like decided to separate out the eyes. And yeah, right here you got the little tile screen mini game, the tile screen animation. And if I press play, you can actually see her close her eyes. And it's all done with one sprite sheet. You can see right here, down here. Now this was hastily done in Photoshop. I'll show you an Aseprite file later. So the character blinks. Just go to the story mode, and then we'll take you from scene to scene to scene. And in this case, you get to the cutscene 1, and then cutscene 2, and cutscene 3, etc. And then at cutscene 4, we'll go all the way. You can follow the blue lines. It will go to that red light cutscene 1A, B. That's B, that's A. That's actually where the door closes. So one of the things, like the door closes, and then you get like a little shake. You can actually animate that in a way where you can add like a little sound effect, and then add like a little camera shake right here, and you can decide like how long it is. Oh, it's behind my webcam, but you can see like how long it is, and then you can see the magnitude and stuff like that. Now, one of the things I also want to talk about, like how do we do these pictures? You know, because it definitely looks like it's on a Game Boy, but it's still like a really realistic image. So one of the ways we did that, we actually converted images from the Netflix show Squid Game, and we turned those into Game Boy graphics. But there's a little bit more to it than just throwing it in Photoshop and converting it to filter. So I'll take you through some steps just to see like how we did it. I got Photoshop right here, and I got my little doggy here, and I'm going to show you like it's tedious work. It's not 2 clicks, but I'm going to show you anyway. So one of the things we do is we make the file a lot smaller. For example, in this case, exactly 160 by 144 pixels. And now I get the Game Boy resolution. But that's the resolution maybe, but that's definitely not the colors. So the resolution is okay, but first of all, I'm going to turn it black and white. So let's take out all the saturation, and I maybe grab the levels, and then, you know, take out the things that I don't need. I think this is pretty much, well, that's about how I need it. That's still not enough, because those are way too many shades, and sadly the Game Boy only supported 4. So let's go to image and then posterize, and then we got the 4 colors, and you can see it loses a lot of detail, and that's fine, because we can bring back some of the detail. For example, if I select that lightest gray color, not the white but the lightest gray, I grab this little dark color here, and then I have this very special dither brush, and if I start writing with that, then you can see it's like a dither, and I can make it a little smaller. And for example, I can add some extra shading right here on these parts, so it's not that harsh. There we go, a little bit here. Then for the white, actually make it go a little bit like this, and then maybe your eye is missing, so maybe I'll just like grab that eye and then duplicate it right here, and then maybe you know, make a little of the black. There we go. Now we can see like 2 eyes, even though, you know, it's not really your eye, and so on. Now that we got this is a pretty good image. You can see the colors are still wrong. So one of the things we can do is we can turn all those colors into its correct counterpart. So now we got all the right colors, and this is starting to look like a Game Boy art doggy. Go to Game Boy Studio, add a scene right here, and I got all the backgrounds here, so I'm actually gonna export it right here and go to my scene and say Fenda, and there it is. And you think, well, now I'm done, right? Well, wrong. It gives me a really big error here. And why am I doing all this? Why am I showing you every step of the way? Just to show you that it wasn't that simple. For example, it says it has 305 tiles being used. The Game Boy, or at least Game Boy Studio, could only do 192. So we got like 110 too many tiles, unique tiles. So how does Game Boy Studio work? If I go to back to Fenda, and I turn my grid on, you can see it goes in exact squares of 8 by 8. So now I can see that, well, this is a unique tile, but this isn't, because it's already there. For example, all these tiles only use 1 tile, but this tile right here, this one is probably unique. So what I gotta do is remove that tile, and maybe I don't need that one as well. And I probably don't need any of these actually. And now I gotta go all the way through the whole file and see what do I need and what don't I need. Maybe I can erase this line right here, and let's erase that line as well. And then this big blob, maybe I don't need that as well. Or maybe even it's gonna delete it completely. So now I already took down the number of sprites by a little bit, because all these sprites here are all the same color now, or all the same tile. There are less unique tiles now. So if I go back to my folder and export it again, and I grab this image now, you can see right here, now it only has 276. So I can keep doing that and can keep doing that until I'm happy. And there's a lot of unique ways to do this, and maybe you can be smart about it. Maybe you can take out like tiles that only have like a little bit, maybe use less dithering, maybe use things smarter, basically is what I'm saying. And you keep doing that, and you keep doing that until there's only 192 unique tiles left. And that means for levels, that means for each scene that's getting loaded. So at a certain point, you really have to go in and spot these little tiles here, because now it's no longer a unique tile. Now it is a completely unique tile because of that 1 pixel. You don't want that. 230. You can see it's a bit of a process. One of the things we did is we had this bar under here, and where always the text would pop up. So if there's like a written dialogue, I could just go in here, and then, for example, I can take out these bottom 4. I can make them white. There we go, 187 pixels. So again, it's not straightforward, and that's what I kind of want to show you. One of the things I can simply do is that right now it's just going to be dialogue, display dialogue, and I can say fenda, woof, 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 and I can even go sound effect, and then maybe there's like a dog. Do I have a dog sound effect? Yes, I have a little doggy bark. I'm going to call this fenda. I'm going to make sure that after the logo, goes all the way over to Fenda. There we go. So if I play it, if I run the ROM, if you will, there we go. We get the logo, and then we get, oh, actually got cut off screen. Some of these games I kind of want to show you. So these are some assets that come with Game Boy Studio, and they're actually like little checks, little objects that I put in there, so I can quickly select those, and these can actually. This is actually my countdown, and when the countdown is 0, or this is actually the countdown, and when the countdown is 0, and it's random, obviously, because that's a little bit more exciting. It stops the music, it shakes the camera, the head turns around, and it randomly checks on these guys if they're gonna die or not, and if they're gonna die, they fall over, and then they hear a little sound effect. And again, this is all random. I forgot what the number 26 was, but if I up the number, then they are less likely to die, and if I lower the number, they are more likely to die every time the head turns around, and I just try to fine-tune it. There's some dead bodies in here already, and you can just walk around it, or you have to walk around it, and then you go all the way until you get to this little yellow bar right here, and that's a trigger. And that trigger basically says, like, if it's a story mode, then you go to the bank, and if it's not a story mode, you go back all the way to this scene right here. Another one, and the one that was the most challenging one, was the cookie. I call it the cookie licker, which is basically what he does in the show. He actually turns the cookie around and then starts moisturizing it with his spit, and he does it actually here. There's one way to actually do it in the ROM. If you read the manual, there's a little cheat there, so go check that out. So you can basically skip this game, but you still get rewarded with another different mini game. Your player character is the little needle, and then you gotta move it all the way across these triggers right here. And if you keep touching these triggers, you actually see like a little bit of an updated animation, and you can see the animation right here. So it updates with one single frame of animation. One of the reasons I couldn't do it backwards, and maybe I can figure it out now, but that was all the way at the beginning of the project. One of the reasons was that you couldn't go backwards, was because I didn't have enough frames to also draw the animation backwards and do the coding backwards, and I figured it was easier to just, make the players go one way. Luckily, we added some blinking arrows, so you know which way you had to go. We added it in the manual, always go counterclockwise, stuff like that, and people figure it out. One of the major issues here was there were only so many triggers here that actually can detect if you're dead or not, and there's only so many places for it to check. There's only one problem. There's only 30 triggers in Game Boy Studio. Maybe there's more in the Game Boy. Maybe there's ways around it. We couldn't figure it out back then, so we're like, 30 it is. And we were just able to make this minigame work. This was the second minigame we tried making work. If we couldn't figure out this minigame, we would have probably canceled the project. It's like, okay, it's not doable in what we want to do in Game Boy Studio, and that's fine. So these are lights out. This is where the fight breaks out in the room. And then you can see like little guys, there's little enemies. One of the things that happened when there's too many enemies on the screen, the game will actually lag by quite a bit, and we figured, it adds to the charm, it's fine. So they have like little behaviors, and one of the behaviors is actually quite simple. It has like a little animation. For example, this guy, he moves to the left, and then he moves to the right again. He doesn't really do anything. And then there's guys that stand here. For example, this guy, I believe. Yeah, this guy actually also moves. You can see right here. It's behind my webcam, but it's moving. And then this guy actually has like an attack where he just like bonks people on the head. And yes, They are all the same looking character. That's because we only have 96 sprites and 96 sprite styles that we can use, and that's it. That's it for the level. Luckily, we load a completely different scene, so we're able to actually get the boss in and get some like a little cutscene. So that actually changed it to a completely new scene. And then we got the old guy here after the game saying like, stop the game, stop the madness. Another game that I want to talk about is the mini game with the tug of war. That one's really hard to get right because time button presses, they didn't really always sync up the code, and then you were always too late or always too early. So that was tricky. And we wanted to do something where the meter was full and then you press B. In the end, I tried making it a little bit more forgiving, and that worked out really well. And the first phase of the game, you actually have to press B really fast. First, it was the A button, but people were tapping the A button really fast, and then the first phase was over, the phase where they all hang backwards, and then you got a little dialogue, you got to do it time now, and people just keep pressing A and then skip through the text and then mess up in this part of the mini game. So it became the B button eventually. So another one with the marbles, that one was pretty fun to do. Even though it's the most boring mini game, it was fun to actually make it work because it had to check like how many marbles you had, and you can press the up and the down button, and only if you only have 4 marbles, you can't like bet 5 marbles because it's only has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one scene in the show, and if you don't want to hear this, skip ahead like 30 seconds or a minute, where the old man, you play against the old man, and so he has like dementia and stuff like that, or at least he has a big tumor, so his brain is a little messed up, and at a certain point you only have 1 marble left in the show, and the old man says like, wait, what did I say again? Was it odd or even? And then you lie to him, so you actually get his marble. If you didn't lie, you probably would have been shot by the guard, which in this case would end the game, obviously, and in the show would end the show for that character anyway. So in this game you can also lie. Actually, you can lie every time you run out of marbles. So you cannot lose this mini game unless you tell the truth. Then then it won't end well for you. There's actually even like a cutscene for that. Do I have it? Yeah, I got it right here. So if you tell the truth after losing all your marbles, you actually see that, and then you get shot, and then you get a little screen shake. And a screen shake on a dark background, that actually doesn't work. But because it was a little glitchy, you actually see like different tiles left and right. And now in that sense, we were able to convince people that it's a black screen, but you're still getting shot or something. Another thing I want to say about the glass stepping stones, that's the bridge. That one was really hard to get right because basically in the show there's 2 lanes, one with real glass, one with regular glass, and the other one with tempered glass. And if you step on the tempered, no problem. If you step on the other one, it breaks, right? So what I did here is, we can't do like two in the same time. That would have been really hard. So we made Gion, I butchered his name probably. They pronounce it different in Korea. I have him standing right here, and you see one of the players do that and then fall through the glass, right? So I programmed that, and that happens for this person and this person as well. I believe this person is actually praying, which happens in the show. You can jump on him, you can jump over him. If you jump on him, the glass actually breaks. And this is somebody who jumps and then breaks through this as well. And this was a little bit more exciting, but it was also really hard to get the controls right. We did use the presets of the platformer in the Squid, like that came with Game Boy Studio, and then we tweaked it a little bit. But if I tweak it for one section for the platformer preset, I tweak it for everything. So that would mean lights out and the final boss and stuff like that. So we decided not to touch it too much. So yeah, this mini game became a little harder, a little bit more slippery. But I think it adds to the charm. And it's only a couple of steps. And if you get to this part, that's the final step. And there's an old man here, just a different guy. He says like, I worked with glass my whole life, and this actually happens in the show. And then the lights go out, well, a lot of stuff happens, but now you got to do the last 2 steps. It's only this step right here and this step right here, and then you make it. You get to the end, and actually you can see it right here. That's another scene where the lights are actually off. Final thing that I wanted to show you guys is right here you end up against one of the players all the way at the final mini game. And in the show, again, fast forward a little bit if you don't want to get too spoiled, but Guillaume throws sand in his face at the beginning of the game, and then you hear the character scream, and that's actually a voice clip from the show in Korean. I watched the show in Korean. I couldn't stand the English dub. I hope you guys don't mind, but I really like the original language. But in the show, he actually gets a face full of sand, and then they fight. And it actually uses a voice clip, and Game Boy Studio, or Game Boy in general, can only use very tiny snippets. One of the first games that I grew up with that had that was Pokemon Yellow, and then you heard like Pikachu say like Pikachu, but it was really it was really hard to understand what Pikachu was saying, but obviously it only says one thing, so you got it. But it was really loud and really it was something. So the Game Boy could do like really tiny voice clips, which add a lot to the memory. But I did it right here with the scream, and then at the secret ending there's one more voice clip, and I'm not going to spoil that right now. And in the end you get to choose, either you help him or you walk away to the end where you win the game. And again, if you've seen the show, you know what it means. In the show, again, fast forward if you don't want to hear this, he actually walks all the way to the right, and then he says, no, I'm done, and then he starts helping him. In the normal ending, the normal ending on our sides, we try to like cover up a little bit what happens really. You can either help him or walk away, and those are actually not 2 endings that are completely correct. So if you want to get the real ending, you got to finish in hard mode, which I'm not going to show at all. If you want to do full transitions of animation, full frame animations, there's one way we did that, is have a screen completely filled up with one image, then move the camera 160 pixels to the right, and then poof, it's right there, and I move it straight away, poof, it's right there. The only downside is it's a little glitchy, and you got to do 192 tiles for the whole thing. So same for this scene right here with the logo. All these tiles are similar, right around the edges, but the logo, those are unique frames. And if I go here, yes, 192 tiles. It was really hard to get that in there. So it's 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frame, 4 frame, 5 frames, and then on the 5th frame you can see the whole logo, and the screen shake, and it shakes, and you see the little YouTube logo under there. And I guess the final thing that I want to show you guys is we use Aseprite for all the character animations and all the little animations, really all the animations. For example, I got the red light, green light animations, and we got the animations right here, and we got the walking, and we got all the walking directions, but we also got the NPCs. They also fall over. We got several NPCs actually. We got a little fat guy. We got a little, I think, like a woman, and a regular, like random person that looks like Gi-hun, just has different hair. In the end, we only used this person because we only had so much memory. If you look at the scene, you can actually see it uses 89 out of a 90 sprite, so we could only do 1. But on the floor there's different types, so we did use those on the, because they were part of the background anyway, so that's fine. The green means it's transparent, and then we got the 3 shades. And that's actually all I want to say about the project. Thanks so much for watching this. Again, it's fully playable. It works on an actual Game Boy. I fully played it on mine. If you play it on yours, doesn't matter if it's a Game Boy or one of those newer devices that plays ROMs, definitely tag us on social media. I want to see it, especially on the old Game Boy, or maybe the SP. I got them all right here, so definitely go check that out. There's a download link in the description, and to Newgrounds, so you can play it on your browser, or you can download the ROM. It's completely free, or it's pay what you want, even if that's $0. That's completely fine with us. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments, or join the Discord and ask me there directly. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys at the next project. Bye bye.